Okay, and then it'll be recorded so you can go back and listen to it. Keep in mind the other class is a little bit ahead of you, so their warm-up from this is already up. What do I do first?
You put select f(x) and divide it by put x to the second minus 9.
X to the second minus 9.
Divided by 2x to the second plus 5x minus 3.
Ooh, this battery doesn't work here. Good. Oh, come on. Oh, that's going to drive me probably crazy. Alright. Is there anything that jumps out to you about this? Anything that screams at you? The x squared minus 9. What about x squared minus 9 jumps out and screams at you? Okay, you can factor it, right? Okay. So what does it factor and become? X minus 3, x plus 3. So what do you think probably happens in the denominator? What are you going to kind of guess here? We're going to guess that this is not only factorable, but one of the factors is probably what? One of these. Yeah, right? So you can play a little bit of the guess and check game if you want to, or you can go through and walk through a MAM type situation. Okay? I assumed you wanted another example of a MAM situation because it seems like people getting asked for, so I just thought it was a nice little situation. Okay? But you can kind of guesstimate and play around with these two and see if it works out. How do I go about factoring this guy?
2 times negative 3 since it's negative 2.
2 times negative 3, which gives me
Negative
negative 6, so I need two numbers that do what two things?
add up to give me
Add up to give me 5, multiply to give me that negative 6. Any numbers fit the bill?
1 and 5.
1 and 5. Got to multiply to give me 6.
1 and 6.
So 1 and 6.
And then one doesn't have to be negative.
One of them has to be negative because this guy's negative, right?
So that negative, so one has to be negative.
So if I have a negative 1 and a positive 6, do I get a positive 5?
Yep.
And this is one you have to be careful with, right? Because what are the other factors of 6? 2 and 3. Can 2 and 3 make a 5?
Yeah. What is it?
So how do you know which one you pick?
In the difference.
It's got to multiply to get that negative, so it has to be this situation, right? So just keep in mind, in case your brain went to these two first, just take a little extra care and make sure you multiply and get the right sign. That happens with a couple of them. You see it a lot with 6 as a number to multiply and 24. It happens a lot. What do I do with these two numbers? Yeah, we break that guy apart, right? So I've got 2x squared minus x plus 6x, and then I bring that minus 3 down. What can I do now?
Grouping.
Yeah, grouping, the dream, right? What can I take out of these first two? X, what does it leave me with? Minus 1, good. What can I take out of these two? Positive or negative?
Negative 3.
How do you know?
Wait, because the negative is where it's like...
From these two?
No, it's positive.
It's all about whatever that symbol is. I'm going to keep bringing that up to you. What do I get when I take out a 3? 2x, and we want this to stay a minus. That's another reason to take out a positive number. So what are my two factors here? 2x minus 1 and x plus 3. So what can I do? Bam! So your final simplified answer is just this guy. Okay? So if they can be factored, try them, see if they have common factors. If they don't, then they don't. Okay? Cool? You okay there? Alright. How about the next problem? What do they want you to do?
They want you to put GFX inside of each of it.
Good. They want you to put g of x inside of h of x. This is the h of g of x, as opposed to the very, very similar symbol, which means to multiply, right? For multiplying, you don't have to put a symbol at all, right? Multiplying two letters next to each other just means multiplication, right? So be a little careful there. All right, so which one of these is my outer shell?
The outer shell would be 2x.
Yeah, this guy, right? What was the trick that I showed you guys to make life a little easier here? The big open parentheses, yeah. So anywhere you see an x, get the big open set of parentheses. So 2 times something squared plus 5 times something minus 3. And then what is my something?
That would be x plus 3.
The x plus 3, good. What do you have to do to simplify this? How do I square x plus 3? Can I just put x squared plus 9? Square in this guy? Can I just put x squared plus 9? Can I? I can't believe you let me trick you. Whenever you see something squared, what should you do to help yourself out? Write it twice. It means x plus 3 with another x plus 3. So what do you have to do here?
Factor.
Aluminum. Yeah, aluminum foil.
Oh.
No, that's a good joke. Alright, what can I do with this piece?
You just distribute the 5.
Yeah, we just distribute, right? No big deal. Plus 5x plus 15. And then do not forget about this minus 3. Bar none. The biggest error I see is people just dropping off this number. They just leave it float away. Okay? Don't forget about that last number. And you should get pretty good at foiling these because they're the same. That first packet that we did, we talked about the ones that are perfect squares. So you can go through and you can foil and then you can combine like terms, but you should be able to get to a point where you can figure out what it's going to be. Okay? And if you need to show the intermediate step, please do so. You see where it came from? Okay. So if you need to show the x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9, you can. So that's after I combine my like terms, right? Think about it, we're doing MAM, right? It's got to multiply to give me this number, add up to give me these numbers. You can just add those together. As long as you don't have a number in front of there, it makes it a little easier to play around with. Can I do anything with these guys to make my life a little easier?
Like 15 and negative 3, they get negative 12.
Very good. So those come together to become a 12. And then what do I have to do now? Distribute the 2. No big deal. A little more labor intensive, but the arithmetic here isn't anything particularly challenging. Okay? It's just like all the other stuff, it's keeping yourself nice and organized. Okay? So what's my final answer here? Beautiful. There you go. And we didn't have to plug anything else in for x there, right? No. Always good to double check. So far so good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about this last guy? You have a choice. You can simplify first and then substitute, or you can substitute everything in right away. Totally up to you. Be careful with parentheses. You can get a little overbearing with lots and lots of parentheses. A lot of times that's why I choose to simplify first. What do you have to be careful about when you do subtraction?
The sign.
The signs. Good. So I've got my g of x minus my f of x. What do you know Miss Holly's going to do right away?
Change the sign.
Yeah, I'm going to click my colors and I'm going to change my signs. All about error reduction. Okay, so what does this give me?
Well,
Can you make it in a slightly better order?
oh yeah. That's the second first.
I'm going to do the 7 after. So 12. And then I got to replace these with that negative 7. You can put negative 7 into here and here. It's still going to work out. It doesn't matter which way you solve it. I'm happy to show you that real quick as well. What is negative 7 squared? 49. So this negative still comes down, and this becomes a positive 49, which I know is a little goofy, and then this is a plus a negative. Okay. So what do you end up getting here? What is it? I just can't hear you. You're whispering. Negative 44? Okay. So what you got?
I got negative 62.
Negative 62. So these guys become negative 56, and then plus 12. So you borrow $56. You give me $12 back. You still owe me $44, and I need to stop lending you money, clearly. That joke doesn't get old. I'm pretty sure I made it on the last video for the other class. Not mad about it. Okay. If you wanted to take this initial piece and you wanted to put that negative 7 in right away, it's still going to work out. Because what's negative 7 plus 3? Negative 4 minus, what's negative 7 squared? 49 minus 9. What does this become? 49 minus 9? That's 40, right? So what does this become? It is absolutely whichever way seems easier to you. Okay? You have to be extra careful of parentheses up here, that's all. Okay? So if you and parentheses already have a good relationship, you're good. Cool? You want to look at those two from the homework? I know a handful of people were asking questions about these guys. I'm going to keep it recording, just so you have it. On your notes, right, we're talking about inverses. What are inverses? What's the main thing that happens with inverses? What are you flipping? X and Y. You're switching your domain and your range. That's what inverses are. So what does f of x actually mean? Yeah, this is just y equals, right? And no matter what letters they give me, I like keeping everything x and y because it just is a little easier to look at. But if it gives you different letters besides x, make sure with your final answer that you click it back into what it should be, okay? So if I want to know the inverse, I can make this x equals 2 over y plus 3 and solve for y. Yeah.
You have my packet.
Yeah, I'll get your packet. It is always easier, and I'm a little nervous saying the word always, but I haven't found a situation yet that it's not, to deal with 2 fractions instead of 1. So is there any way to make the one that's not a fraction into a fraction? Is there any way to turn that x into a fraction?
X over 1.
Hey, you make it x over 1. Why would that make this easier? If you have a fraction equal to a fraction, what can you do? What's it called? Fraction equal to a fraction?
Like the bottom and the bottom and the top and the bottom. By crossing?
Yeah, cross multiplying, right? If I make this guy over 1, can't I just cross multiply now?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic trick. When I cross multiply, what am I multiplying together?
X times
X times
y plus 3.
y plus 3, and it equals 2, right? Because we just 1 times 2. Before you jump into distributing, what is your goal?
To get the inverse.
To get the y by itself, right? So, can I move this x to the other side?
Yes.
What do you need to do?
Divide.
Divide by it. Yeah, I'm going to click it into a different color just so you see it. Divide by x, divide by x. Those guys knock out, and now I have y plus 3 equals 2 over x. How do I get y by itself now? Yeah, it's minus 3. Does that make more sense? So in this case, when I click it back to the correct form, I'm saying the inverse function of x is 2 over x minus 3. That is a perfectly fine answer to give me.
Wait. Why can't we write y is equal to 2?
Because we are putting it in correct notation. It is the inverse function. It started off as f of x, so we are giving the answer as f inverse of x. If it was g of x, we put a g inverse of x. How about this next guy? I'm going to change this to be my x, and I'm going to change this to be my y. How I kind of view this, as this y right here is wrapped up, in this case in 4 layers. That means there's 4 things that I have to undo and put over here. You see that there's 4 things happening to that y? What are the 4 things happening to that y?
Multiply by 2.
Being multiplied by 2.
Adding to it and being squared.
Beautiful. Right? Being multiplied by 2, we're adding 4, we're squaring it, we're subtracting 8. The key is, what order are you allowed to undo that in? That's the key. It's actually the opposite. When you solve equations, you do PEMDAS backwards. Whenever you solve equations, you do PEMDAS backwards. Nobody ever told you that? It's kind of sneaky. Sadness, which might be my new favorite word. I never thought about writing sadness. That was a Mr. Daniela trick. He gets full credit for that. But you actually do it backwards. So anything inside of your parentheses is going to happen last. So what do I do first? We're going to add the 8 over. We're going to deal with the subtraction first. We deal with the subtraction. How do I move a minus 8 to the other side? Yeah, I just add 8 over. We did work. These are literal equations is what they're called. You already, I think I have extra practice already up on Canvas for you if you need them. But this is a skill you see a lot. Whether it's SATs, whether it's college placement tests, you see literal equations a lot, where you're dealing with more than one variable and you have to move the equations around. Okay. What do I do next? We gotta move all the way over to exponents because this is all inside of the parentheses and parentheses happen last. So how do I get rid of that little squared? You actually have to avoid that. That's like a correct response to have to this, to want to separate this and FOIL it, but it ends up making your life a little difficult. Because how can I undo a squared and bring it to the other side of my equation? Square root it. That makes your life a lot easier. You want to keep your variable together with itself if you can. Yep.
How come you didn't? How come 2x became 2y and the other problem the x 2?
You just switched my x to my y. Just like I did here. X became y, y became x. Okay. What do I have to do now? Track forward. You can put it before or after your square root. Whatever makes it a little bit more clear to you. I've seen it written both ways. And then divide by 2. It doesn't have to be pretty. My F inverse here, and you can put the plus or minus ahead of it if you want to. It doesn't have to be pretty. Some of them won't be pretty. Okay. But you got a good chunk of these that you can practice today. Okay?
That's not from our class.